I've done PvZ challenge runs for almost half a decade. My oldest public upload on this channel is a PvZ1 challenge video that I made when I was 13. I've attempted a plethora of challenge runs since, with only a couple actually getting dedicated videos made, but my favorite ones always experimented with the limitations of PvZ games. And for an unbelievably long time, I've been trying to think of a Plants vs. Zombies 2 challenge idea that, to me, felt new and innovative. Usually, I can tell what the inherent problem of a potential challenge run is pretty early on. Some simply seem so easy that they might as well be a waste of time. For example, a PvZ, but I can only use X type of plant run doesn't interest me at all because I've already done it with pea shooter. Why would it be any more interesting to use objectively better plants, of which almost the entire cast is? Others, such as the PvZ Nuzlocke idea, are just way too tedious to be fun, which a challenge should be. And there's only so many times I can attempt a 2-slot run. That 2-slot PvZ2 video was actually what inspired this challenge. I was rewatching it when I came across a weird glitch I showcased in the video. For some reason, in various old PvZ2 versions, if a zombie wave consisted of just imps, the game thought that there was nothing there and the next wave was triggered instantly. This single bug is the inspiration behind this video. The way this challenge works is pretty simple. Instead of a level spanning multiple waves, they have all been condensed into a single horde. Every zombie that spawns in that level now arrives at the same time. I've also deleted all of the lawnmowers because, well, that would eliminate all challenge from this challenge run. Just like in other PvZ2 challenges that I've done, I am refraining from using power-ups and premium plants. However, unlike my other runs, I'm not playing on version 4.5.2, the modern day part 2 update that came out in 2016. Instead, I started on version 6.2 and then switched to version 7.0. I was using the 4.5.2 levels for the majority of the first world though. Every version after 5.6 includes plant leveling, so I also need to mention that I am not upgrading any of my plants. That's the gist of it. Let's see if it's possible to beat a version of PvZ2 where every zombie spawns at once. So I edited the level files for the tutorial, but they didn't actually work and the game just crashed every single time I tried them. This run begins in ancient Egypt, where I was in for a rude awakening. Unsurprisingly, only having around 18 seconds isn't really enough time to set up a functional defense. I was able to plant about 4 sunflowers at most. Throughout this challenge, stable sun production is a genuine problem that there is no real solution for. It's hard to kill the zombies when I barely have enough sun to even plant anything. What certainly didn't help is the fact that my only ways of actually killing the zombies were limited to just pea shooter and potato mine. Pea shooter is pretty ineffective due to its single target, low damage projectile, and decent splash damage is an absolute must for this challenge. Pea shooter alone cannot handle a horde of 24 zombies. Potato mine solves both of pea shooter's issues, and it's incredibly cost efficient at 25 sun, but you can only plant 2 of them total before the zombies reach the second column. Walnut also has an awful recharge for this challenge, and I can't use sunflowers as temporary walls because I need enough sun for pea shooters. It's crazy to say this, but Ancient Egypt Day 1, the first level in the game, was a genuine roadblock. For this level, and this level alone, I actually changed the amount of time it took for the huge wave to spawn in. I added a second to the timer for every wave in the original level file. Unintentionally, this only added 5 extra seconds instead of 10, but whatever. I also had to switch versions for this to be possible, as the zombie countdown huge wave delay line of code didn't work on version 6.2. I selected version 7.0 because it was the update before PopCap first butchered Ancient Egypt, and it did work there. Eventually, after a bunch more attempts, most of which ending with solely 2 zombies surviving, I was able to scramble my way out of Day 1. In retrospect, I'm not even sure how I completed it, and I did it with an asterisk. It's crazy how much easier Day 2 was. This is the level that introduced plant food, a key component to this challenge. Just like the zombies, I put every plant food in the same wave, as there's only 1 wave per level. Because of how PvZ2 is coded, all of the plant food spawn with the frontmost zombies. Basically for Day 2 I just spammed Potato Mine's plant food. Day 3 has 38 total zombies, which is much more than both of the previous levels. It was significantly easier though. Yes, this is Cabbage Bolt's singular niche. A plant that can hit every zombie at once is sorely needed in a challenge like this, and Cabbage's plant food guarantees it. Also, the game forced me to level up PvZ2 at this point, so I have to change him back to level 1 at some point. I was pretty worried going into day 4. This level has a lot of firsts. It's the first conveyor belt level, and those are overwhelmingly luck-based. It is the first level with Bloomerang, but also the first level with Sandstorms. That, combined with Gravestones, which I guess is a second as they were first in the previous level, made me assume that snagging plant food would be harder than usual, but as soon as I did get the first plant food, it was easy as ever. I also forgot to remove the lawnmowers in this level, but the zombies never reached them anyway. Day 5 went as expected. It's the power-up introduction level. Power tossing an entire level's worth of zombies is truthfully not as satisfying as you think it would be. Day 6 was nothing crazy either, and I had no notes for this level. I was also worried about Day 7, as Mummy Memory was removed after version 6.7. I heard that it was removed because the camels stopped working entirely at some point, but they still worked in version 7.0. Supposedly they didn't break at all until after version 8.0, so I'm not sure why these levels were changed so early. All of the camels coming at once is slightly threatening, by the way. Survive a massive attack in ancient Egypt. Yeah, I've been doing that. But this one was even more massive. The insane amount of sandstorm zombies was a major problem here because it completely blocked my access to plant food and because of how far up the lawn they went. Also dictated by fortune was the conveyor belt, as per usual. It was also really slow. No better can this combination of factors be seen at its fullest than in my second attempt. Surprisingly, I was able to complete this level on my third try. Day 8 generously gave 11 plant foods, which was more than enough to deal with both Gargantuars. This is a Keysplosion version, so I had the ability to access any world I wanted to. For now, I'm sticking to the old world order, but I may bounce around depending on if I get soft locked anywhere. Neither days 9 or 10 were anything wild. Both were close finishes, but so was every other level before this. Sometimes I wonder if it's even worth using sunflowers. Look at this. I'm sitting here waiting for 2 drops of sun. None of the 4 sunflowers that I've planted are doing anything. The 2 drops of sun that I needed to plant a singular cabbage pulp came from the sky faster than they did from the 4 sunflowers. Only after I planted the cabbage pulp I needed to kill the 55 zombies on the lawn, yes, I counted, did they give anything. I'm getting trolled by my own team, dude. It legitimately took me an entire day to figure out why day 11 just wasn't working. And by an entire day, I mean probably an hour with massive breaks in between. Day 11 itself also took around an hour to beat. It sucked. Rewatching the recordings, and wow, I still feel the pain from this level. This is a locked and loaded level. No cabbage pulp, so no easy cheese. I refrained from using PvZ2. I wasn't going to use it in the first place because it was level 2 and I didn't feel like editing my save file to fix it. The success of this level was entirely dependent on the right combination of Bloomerang plant food, which was the only way to get consistent damage to every zombie on the lawn. I think I stated pretty clearly in my notes that the root cause was, again, the sun production. Interestingly, on my second attempt, the game just skipped the huge wave text and spawned the horde 10 seconds early. Somehow I choked this later attempt away. A dozen tries later, and the level was complete. Oh my god. I actually made a midway save of this exact attempt, so if I'm really that annoyed by it, then I'll go in and just not use it entirely. I'm pretty sure I only even planted it to chump block. Whatever, dude. There's nothing really to say about day 12. Bonk unlocked on day 13. For day 14, I wanted to try using Bonk Choi instead of Bloomerang because of its better damage output, plant food, and lower cost. I think I've emphasized enough how important sun cost is in this challenge. I almost choked this level away and didn't demonstrate it well here, but Bonk is actually really good at snagging early plant foods. This Bonk Choi in the top lane is super satisfying. In theory, day 15 should be scarier than most other levels, but because it actually gave me stable sun production, it was up there as one of the easiest. I liked these mystery gifts a lot more when they gave costumes. That actually encouraged me to check the shop to see if it was selling any, and it wasn't. But they were selling gauntlets for battles, not arena. I guess by the time this version launched, PopCap hadn't been sued yet. Day 16 was just another Mummy Memory level. It still worked and there was nothing too notable here. Never have more than 14 plants for day 17. This wasn't that interesting of a level because I can't consistently get more than 10 plants in the lawn at once. The 4th plant food slot was unlocked though. Day 18 was a last stand level, which are my least favorite types of levels, mainly because they usually end up being major roadblocks in my challenge runs. Infrequently, they can be fun puzzles to solve, but often they just waste hours of my time and don't feel satisfying upon completion. Luckily, Day 18 went pretty smoothly. After being accustomed to having a very desperate playstyle, it was nice to be able to have a full sunbank and a decent defense. Day 19 was another level that limited the amount of plants that you could have, but this time it was 12, not 14. Once again, this had no effect on the gameplay itself, and neither did the mold colonies. I realized that I forgot to record footage for Day 20 immediately after I won. Imagine Day 15 with an extra sunflower and the horde being slightly more threatening because of the explorer zombies. Day 21 was another locked and loaded level, but unlike Day 11, I did have cabbage pulp. Actually, I had every pulp. I have no idea why the current developers decided to remove this level in newer versions. It always felt like such a standout level because the player was forced to use all of the pulps from Roof. In a world full of mostly unmemorable levels, I feel like a good majority of PvZ2 fans remember this one specifically. This was yet another level that wasn't anything crazy. The zombie selection in Day 22 was what made it harder than most. There was a much higher density of high health threats that tank cabbage pulp's plant food, and zombie sandstorms always spawned in the worst places at the worst times. The mold colonies were actually kind of a problem here for those reasons. The plant limit was not. My strategy was also dependent on how fast the sun production was. Again. But there wasn't much room for error here. If the sunflowers were too slow, I had to pivot or restart the level entirely. Eventually I was able to complete the level. Sun-starved. Yeah, I'm sun-starved. For some reason around this time PvZ took like 20 or 30 seconds to boot up. Half the time crashed right after. There was nothing wrong with the Day 23 level file, I guess my emulator was just bugging out. Or maybe I had too many things open on my computer, I don't know. It took 8 tries for PvZ2 to actually let me play Day 23. It was the last mummy memory level, so a fun break from the massive hordes. Day 24 was the other last stand in this world. It took some trial and error, but I was able to complete it pretty quickly. Here's Twin Sunflower, which probably won't have as much of an effect as I hoped. Effectively, Day 24 was the end of Ancient Egypt. I can't really edit anything about the Zomboss fight. Also, I just have no idea how that type of level would work, as it's so foreign from the challenge concept. For those reasons, I'm not considering the Zomboss fights as part of it. On to the next world. In stark contrast to Ancient Egypt, Pirate Sea started off pretty unceremoniously. Day 1 was as easy as the challenge gets, and the same was true for Day 2. It was pretty funny seeing every seagull on the lawn at once for cannons away. These first few levels were rinse and repeat. This was Buckethead's first appearance in Pirate Seas, so cabbage itself wasn't going to cut it. Snapdragon's plant food might be more useful than bonk choy in niche cases, but I'd imagine that bonk is generally the superior option in this challenge due to its reliability in the early game. Butter and spikes and everything nice, but no spikeweed or spike rock. When I first started this challenge, Day 5 was one of the levels I mentally flagged and was genuinely worried about. Kernel Pult's plant food damage does nowhere near as much as Cabbage Pult's. In fact, you need 5 Kernel plant foods to kill 1 brown coat. Kernel also has objectively one of the weakest damage outputs out of every plant in the game, so I was worried about how I was even going to get plant food in the first place. Cherry Bomb was given in this level, but I assumed that its recharge was way too slow for me to be able to use it. On my first attempt, I stuck every zombie behind a walnut, except for the one in front with plant food, so Kernel had to kill it. That gave me the first plant food. By that point, Cherry Bomb had finished recharging, so I used it to get a few more plant foods, and I just spammed it from there. Just barely survived the swashbucklers already off the lawn. Then I used a second Cherry Bomb, and oh, that was it. I thought this level would take a lot longer to beat, but whatever. Neither Day 6 nor Day 7 were anything extraordinary. It's crazy how close the zombies regularly got to the house. Barrel rollers first appear here, but they weren't particularly threatening. Day 8 was hellish. Look at how many zombies there are on the lawn. Half of them spawned in the middle column. Did not help that this level was a conveyor, so the plants that I got were completely random. I either needed 4 snapdragons or a kernel plant food at the very start just to make it bearable. But plant food was effectively impossible to reach due to all of the swashbucklers and seagulls. Actually, this seagull that conveniently made its way to the front was carrying plant food. From there, it was a matter of stalling for as long as possible while the zombies slowly had their health chipped away. Plant food dropped one by one. This potato mine plant food was pretty lucky with its spawning. Snapdragon plant food finished the last few zombies off, and that was the end of Pirates' Gargantuar level. Day 9 was just your average. I wrote in my notes after that Springbean might be of use in niche cases and that he had serious potential in this world. Imp cannons first appeared on day 10. They should be a lot more threatening, but they died pretty fast to Cabbage Pulse plant food. I felt like trying Springbean on day 12. It worked pretty well. Not for this level in particular, since the swashbucklers had already made it up the lawn and the seagulls were unaffected, but it dealt with the regular zombies pretty well. Upon completion of this level, the game gave the Sun Shovel, which could be an incredibly important piece to this challenge, mainly because Sun is so hard to stockpile. Oh, great. Speaking of Sun, now I needed to produce 3,000 by the end of the level. I don't think these sunflowers regularly produced even a tenth of that. Day 13 was also where the Parrots were first encountered. They were more of a problem than I initially thought, mainly because they had much greater health than you'd expect, and because Cabbage Pulse actually cannot even hit them. This has got to be the PvZ version of edging. Rest of the level was just waiting for the sunflowers to actually do something. All it really took to beat Day 14's last stand was a simple Snapdragon setup. I'm not sure if I even needed the Cabbage Pulse here. Love that Springbean is preparing to fling the glitched swashbuckler corpse that is a lane below it. Don't let the zombies trample the flowers. Bit of a problem, there was no time before the zombies went up my ass. It was effectively an instant loss. To me, it appeared that iceberg lettuce's plant food was the best way of countering it because it affects the zombies a lot faster than Cabbage Pulse plant food does. Also, it gives time for the sunflowers to actually do their job. Otherwise, the level just feels like scrambling. Eventually, I was able to time iceberg's plant food right, and the level was manageable after that. First of the 2 endangered Springbean levels, Day 16 was easy enough. It would have been better using that final plant food on Bonk instead of Cabbage past NJ. Kill 20 zombies in 30 seconds, as if I don't already do that in every level. I wonder why they never really used this gimmick outside of this world in Big Wave Beach. I'm in the middle of editing this video, and holy shit, these parrots suck. I hate these fucking parrots, dude. They actually piss me off, even as I'm editing the video a few weeks after playing. The parrots were literally the only problem with the level 2. Dude, literally, I didn't play Bonk Choi until after waiting for the parrots to lock onto their target, and it was super easy after that. That was it. That was the entire level right there, was just waiting for these parrots to leave. Why are they so tanky, dude? And I'm playing a version after they nerfed all of the zombie health dramatically. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the leveling update, all of the zombies got buffed, and then a couple versions later, they all got nerfed. How does the parrot have so much health? Day 18 was another locked and loaded level. As far as this challenge was concerned, it contained the worst selection of plants of all time. No sun producers, no consistently good splash damage, and I actually had to go and fix my save file to revert pea shooter to level 1. Well, I did use level 2 pea shooter on my attempt where I was just trying to get a gauge of the level. Regardless, this is a run-ending lineup. I sat and thought for a while about how it would ever be possible to complete this level, and I eventually realized that there was a saving grace. Imagine my surprise when I realized that a potential winning strategy, and the one I ultimately opted to go with, revolved entirely around Springbean, a plant commonly considered to be one of the worst in the game, if not the worst. As far as this level was concerned, though, it was the most reliable way of accessing plant foods. Crazy how every plant in this game, no matter how awful it is generally, has some stupid niche that people can appreciate. Anyways, freeze every zombie with iceberg lettuce's plant food, and I could stall for as long as I wanted to while collecting enough sun to set up a basic walnut and spikeweed defense. Because imp cannons killed themselves, neither pea shooter nor repeater had any real reason to be used. I still went out of the way to finally fix pea shooter's level though. Also, I think it's pretty funny how Springbean will sometimes send zombies to lane 6. This strategy actually succeeded on my 3rd attempt. Sun Shovel saved me at the end of the level, and I guess I need to take back what I just said, as I did use a repeater to finish off the remaining high health threats. It felt so good completing day 18. Virtually no other level has felt as satisfying to finish as this one had. Completely unscripted, but I just remembered that a couple years ago I asked the PvZ2 team developer Reddit account. I asked them if they could add de-leveling your plants to the game. And the response that the dude running the account gave me was that he was impressed that I was using level 1 plants at all, and that he can't even regularly beat levels with higher level plants. These are the dudes that are currently working on our game, or were 2 years ago. I don't know if he's still there. Day 19 combined two of the worst possible level gimmicks for this challenge, the flower line and producing a large amount of sun. But surprisingly, it was a pretty simple level. Killed most of the zombies with Spring Bean's plant food, then stalled till the end waiting for sun. That's a lot of birds. Where is the money bag? Are 2 coins all I get for beating day 20? The developers really decided to stick all of the gimmicks at the very end of the world, huh? Actually, I think it's pretty cool how 17 of the 25 levels in Parrots have some sort of extra objective, or are fundamentally different from normal levels. This is probably the case for most other worlds, but for some reason, the gimmick levels in Parrots stand out to me a lot more. Maybe it's just recency bias. It makes the world a lot more fun to play through. Kind of an underrated one. For day 21, I again opted for the Spring Bean strategy, simply because it felt more engaging than the typical cabbage bonk combo. As it involved stalling with Iceberg the entire time, finishing the sun quota at the end of the level wasn't as bad. Also, I forgot about the killing zombies in the time frame objective, but it was completed pretty early because it didn't register the zombies until after their bodies unfroze. The extra seed slot was an amazing pickup that I will be making the most out of. Day 22, the last stand of all time. How am I ever going to overcome this level? That's a lot of cannons. That's a lot of imps. And a lag spike. That was really satisfying. 10 out of 10. Yo, post me. Instead of a 10 out of 10, the amount of cannons out of the amount of cannons. The penultimate level of Pirate Seas is yet another flower line level. However, this one was almost a joke. There were no swashbucklers or imp cannons. One of the 3 types of zombies in this level could not even trip the flower line, and they all died in a few cabbage pulp plant foods. The flower line was in the middle of the column, so, if necessary, they could have been covered by spikeweeds. And again, the other gimmick existed too. Only one level now stands between the next world and I. The goal: protecting the endangered spring beans again. But this one looked to be way more interesting because there were actually threats this time and all immediately pressured the spring beans. There were multiple swashbucklers that all spawned directly on top of the spring beans, and their spawn placement was random. Imp cannons solely appeared on the non-plank lanes, and their imps landed just after the most optimal time to use Iceberg's plant food, so they didn't freeze at all. There were also the dozen seagulls that were unaffected by Iceberg anyway. Perfectly timed cabbage plant food kills all 3, but it took a few tries to achieve this. From there, it was business as usual. Feels good to see the Parrots finally get screwed over. When I started this challenge, Cherry Bomb was on my list as one of the potential game changers. I genuinely thought that this challenge would be like I've been maining Cherry Bomb since 2013. After getting this far though, I now wonder if it's even worth using it, as multiple other plant foods have the same end result. We'll see in the next world, which will be part of an entirely different video. Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention that this is going to be a multi-part series. I really don't have the time to finish every world right now, and I want to gradually ease myself back into making videos. How do you guys think this challenge will go? Which plants do you think will become major players? Conversely, which zombies and levels do you think could end my run entirely? Let me know in the comments. I learned recently that if I say the word subscribe in a video, then the subscribe button will light up. I have no idea if it does that for comments or not. I don't know what would light up anyway, the text that says comments? I don't know, bro. Before you click off the video, I wanted to mention something real quick. If you've been paying any attention to the PvZ franchise whatsoever, I'm sure you've heard of the EA Shepherd business. Most PvZ YouTube channels have made some video about it. To summarize, EA Shepherd is one of the EA community managers. A few weeks ago, he opened a thread and asked from the fans for as much information as possible about Garden Warfare 2's sustained success for the chance of support being returned to the game. You guys really delivered. God damn. A couple hardcore fans are running with this opportunity, and I wanted to let you guys know about the brainchild, the Garden Fiesta. It's a GW2 focused event that will take place the entirety of September 14th, 2024. The goal is the same as what EA Shepherd was asking from the player base, to bring as much activity and attention to GW2 as possible for the chance of EA's higher-ups noticing and potentially bringing back support for the game. I know there have been a bunch of failed GW2 revival attempts in the past, but literally all you need to do to participate in the Garden Fiesta is open the game, no matter on what platform or for how long. Even just telling others about the event helps more than you could imagine. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to do anything that day as I'll be moving into college, but I know, or hope, that a good amount of people will be streaming and hosting Garden Warfare 2 events in their respective communities. If you want to learn more, a video made by Deggy, one of the co-hosts of the event, is in the description. Hope y'all can make it. Thank you all so much for watching to the end, and I'll see y'all in the next one.